Uncertainty about a child is one of the most terrifying things a parent can go through, but eventually, parents have to step aside, no matter how painful it may be. Even though she was worried, Sabriya's mother attempted to take a back seat because her daughter was growing up, and the more she tried to hold her back, the more Sabriya retreated. Today's case is about a 15-year-old girl who traveled miles to meet a man she had met on Facebook. Before we begin this video, we would like to express our deepest sympathies to the family and friends who were severely affected by this horrible crime. We would also like to send condolences to Sabriya's family and friends. Newcastle, Delaware is a charming town located in Newcastle County in the state of Delaware. It is situated in the northern part of the state, near the Delaware River and about halfway between Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Baltimore, Maryland. Newcastle, Delaware has a population of 5,400 residents.
It was a very violent act, so we're looking at him in connection to some other possible cases that we've had.
Homicides?
Yes.
I had been told from some neighbors that there was a fire alarm that had gone off Monday evening. Do you think that could have been part of it?
That's
Sabriya Angel Mclean was born on the 31st of October, 2002 in St. Francis Hospital in Philadelphia. Mclean was born to her mother Shauna Mclean and her father Paul Reddick. Sabriya attended Evans Elementary from kindergarten through second grade. She later attended Huey Elementary School in Philadelphia. People that knew her described her as someone who had a playful spirit. She loved to read and listen to music and dancing. She had a beautiful personality and a smile that would brighten a room. She was also very computer savvy. Although they were concerned about Sabriya's behavior, Sabriya's parents opted to step aside. She pushed back more aggressively the more they tried to restrain her. She was last seen the day before, in the morning, at her home in the 5100 block of Ogden Street. She was recovered safe and sound at a friend's house. She went missing on February 27, 2014, when she was just 11 years old. She was every parent's worst nightmare. Despite her mother's best efforts, Sabriya would flee whenever there was a problem at home. Mclean would become furious, flee, and then return after she had a chance to calm down. For a long time, this has been happening. She fled her home at the age of 11 and went to live with her friends a few blocks away. Sabriya escaped one day, although this was a different situation. Even if Sabriya had fled, it was unusual for her not to return her mother's calls and texts. Thus, Sabriya's mother was unable to contact her at all. Shauna, her mother, was unable to contact her. Sabriya constantly used her phone to chat with people on Facebook, so this raised a lot of suspicion. By the end of the day, her mother had made the decision to call the police, and when they arrived on Tuesday morning to search, they discovered no trace of her daughter. Then, a couple who lived in the same apartment building in West Philadelphia called the police to express their concern. They claimed that lighting a fire over a pile of leaves had resulted in a criminal act. The morning of November 28, 2017, Herring's parents went to the police department to report their son's murder of a 15-year-old. When Mr. Herring's father came to his apartment after watching a football game with his friends the night before after midnight, Cole confessed to him that he had killed a female, the father told the police. Herring took his father to the deceased person's body, which was lying outside the residence. In order to prevent something untoward from happening to someone in the house, the 23-year-old warned his father not to inform anyone. His father informed the authorities that his wife and son were both sound asleep at the time. The next morning, he fabricated a story to get his wife and son out of the flat, and he then made the decision to head to the police station at that location. Before leaving, he instructed the police to search for Cole. Sabriya Mclean suffered over 77 stab wounds, and the medical examiner found that approximately 40% of her body was covered with burns. A security video that showed the 23-year-old dragging the victim's body into a pile of leaves behind his flat was also found by the investigation officers. Cole also admitted to killing the female he met on Facebook, telling friends that he had stabbed the victim numerous times, burned the victim's body, and dumped the remains in a pile of leaves. A 15-year-old's body was discovered below a pile of leaves at the back of the apartment when officers arrived at the scene. The police discovered Sabriya had been murdered and that she had sustained numerous stab wounds.
23-year-old Cole Swaringer Herring has been behind bars since the body of a female was discovered behind the apartment building where he lives with his parents in the 200 block of South 49th Street in West Philadelphia on Tuesday morning. Today we learned the victim was Sabriya Mclean, who had just turned 15 years old in October. She had been reported missing from Newcastle, Delaware by her family. Police tell Action News Mclean met Swaringer Herring on Monday via Facebook. She ended up at his West Philadelphia apartment on Monday night. Police say within hours she would be stabbed to death and her body set on fire in the rear of the building.
The coroner's report has her being stabbed well over 50 times and set on fire in the yard of that apartment complex.
Sources say she was stabbed close to 80 times. They say that the suspect's parents were both out at the time, and when they returned home, he told them what he'd done. The next morning, they alerted police. Swaringer Herring was arrested on the scene after the body was found under a pile of leaves by responding officers. Given the violence of this crime, investigators want to know if this suspect has killed before.
Her death, according to the homicide captain, was the consequence of an extremely violent deed. It was not an accident. Cole Swaringer Herring, age 23, was a highly unstable person. Additionally, a month before she was murdered, he was not supposed to be speaking to a teenager who had just turned 15 years old. Since they couldn't meet in person since they lived so far apart, their Facebook relationship was maintained. They eventually managed to get together, and as a result, Sabriya's untimely death was caused by their meeting. Due to charges of arson and abuse of a corpse, Cole Swaringer Herring was arrested and detained. He was held without bond. On the 3rd of October, 2017, his father was released from prison. During the trial, Cole wanted to link his father to the murder of Mclean. At the time of the victim's murder, he was on probation. In an effort to exonerate himself of responsibility, Mr. Herring also made an attempt to present proof that his father had a violent past. Mr. Herring presented evidence showing that his father had been found guilty of aggravated assault in 2002 and 2014, proving that he was the murderer of the victim. The prosecution said that during an effort to arrest Herring in 2014, Herring's father punched a number of police officers. Although Cole's father had shot a 14-year-old with a gun in the 2002 conviction, the judge didn't believe the father's prior conviction made it likely that his father was the real offender. They phoned the father's friend to provide a statement, and he said that the father had been at his house that evening on the 27th of November, 2017. Him and his other friends were watching a football game. On the 17th of November, 2020, Cole Swaringer Herring was found guilty of murder, being in possession of an instrument of crime, abuse of corpse, and unlawful restraint. Cole was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. If you would like to stay updated with this type of content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. See you on the following video.